Again, the storm is now churning its way east, slamming into additional towns and communities, heading to Louisiana. Let's bring in former FEMA director and co-founder of Witt O'Brien's Resilience Advisors, James Lee Witt. James, you were hired to oversee reconstruction efforts in Louisiana after Hurricane Katrina. What is your reaction to this crisis so far and the response that you're seeing from local, state, and federal authorities?
Well, you know, I think the response is going extremely well. Brock is doing a great job with FEMA. You know, he's an experienced emergency manager and from Alabama. And I think Brock Long was a great choice to be appointed because he's very talented. The coordination between the federal, state, and local is going extremely well from everything I see. But there's still an awful lot of work to be done, and it's going to take years for this recovery to happen.
James, I want you to listen to this. I had Fox News military analyst on earlier, General Jack Keane. He was also involved in Katrina relief efforts, and I talked to him about what he would like to see. And he started talking about Fort Hood. You know, the National Guard is very, very critical in these times, but what about the soldiers at Fort Hood in Texas? Listen to this.
Within hours of Houston is the largest military base in the United States with active duty forces there right now in excess of 30,000. In hours away. They should be on the ground right now. And that was a major lesson we learned at Katrina. We waited for the National Guard. They're wonderful, and they're part of the first response, but it takes 2 to 3 days to get them together because they all have civilian jobs.
James, do you think that that's a possibility? Do you expect to see that happen?
Well, you know, that's a call for the governor to make whether or not they need those extra resources to be able to respond to this. And, you know, that's something that on-the-ground assessments that they do to make sure that they fill the resources that local governments has been tasked to fulfill. And I think they've done that very well. I've been watching it very closely, and it seems that, you know, the rescue efforts that is massive that they're doing right now with the volunteers and the other groups. And, you know, sometimes you can get too many people in harm's way and cause problems.
I'd like to ask you about the National Flood Insurance Program and your thoughts on this, because Cato Institute did a study recently talking about some of the issues, saying that premiums are not priced to be actuarially sound, they don't reflect the covered risk, that there are subsidies for some groups, and it's not based on need, and then other groups basically they don't build up reserves for costly years in the program itself, and it just really hasn't changed the way it should. What are your thoughts on what needs to happen with this program?
Well, it definitely needs to be changed, but I don't think now is the time to start making those changes. I think Congress needs to reauthorize that program and for another year and give them time to really look at it and study it and see what they need to do. You know, when I was director of FEMA, we got rid of the subsidy on the secondary homes. I mean, vacation homes have been subsidized. And then we did a survey of how many homes had 3 or more claims filed over a period of 3 years. We found 10,000 pieces of property that had 3 or more claims filed, and it was costing the program $200 million annually. So we put together a plan of how we could eliminate that by buying out or elevating that property, and it would take $400 million over 4 years. But it would have got rid of that $200 million annually, and back then, and I'm sure it's a lot more today.
James, that's one of the issues, that you have the flood insurance program, that the authority of it expires at the end of September. It's only got $5.8 billion left in borrowing authority. Congress has dragged their feet on that, on dealing with that. Plus, they're going to have to deal with money funding for the relief efforts to just shore up, particularly roughly half of the properties in the Houston area are not covered under flood insurance, not insured. So how do you expect Congress to act in this instance? Because in January 2013, after Superstorm Sandy, there were 2 separate bills, and one of them was a almost $51 billion package that helped states rebuild after Sandy. Some of these Texas representatives did not vote for, including Ted Cruz. And then there was almost $10 billion in increased borrowing authority for that very flood insurance program. Do you expect to see something similar in the next month or so?
You know, I expect so, because, you know, they're not going to let those people suffer, and they're going to help them rebuild. But the thing of it that they have to do it's an opportunity when these people in the community start rebuilding, is to rebuild back better and safer, you know, and try to eliminate the risk. In some cases, you might not be able to do that, but it's important to really have a good study of, okay, how can we fix this that it doesn't happen again? Because people do not need to go through this again. But again, Congress needs to reauthorize the flood insurance bill for 1 year, give them time to study it very closely and see what works best without raising the price of the insurance so high that people can't afford it.
Right. James, good to see you. Thank you so much. James Lee Witt joining us.
Thank you.